All right, I'll call to order the November 15, 2023 Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. Mark, please call the roll.
Mr. Bononis?
I'm here.
Mr. Croce?
Here.
Ms. DeLeon?
Here.
Mr. Ingles? Here. Ms. Sugar?
Here.
All right, please stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag, United States, yeah. To the republic for which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council did meet today in executive session. Following that, I'm going to make a motion to instruct the solicitor to prepare a resolution authorizing the use of eminent domain to acquire parcel number R7-12-3-0719E for a total of 36.68 acres. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Ingles?
No.
Ms. Sugar?
No.
All right. Next up, we have public comment procedure. Before we get into the public comment procedure, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda to move up item number 3, which is recognition of officers, to above and before the public comment period. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Sugar?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. So the first item we have is the recognition of officers. Back on February 22nd, 1980, there was a statement that was uttered that most people know. And I don't mean to relate what was said on that day to what happened here in the township on October 16, 2023, because what happened here in the township is far more significant than that. On that day back in February, Al Michaels uttered a comment, and it was, "Do you believe in miracles?" And on October 16th, a miracle happened. We're blessed today to have Rob Albert with us because that miracle happened. Those that may not know what happened that day, I think this is an important story to hear. On that day, Rob Albert went out for a jog. He's a fit guy, takes care of himself, takes care of his family. And it was a weekday, and you may not know where Rob Albert lives. He lives on a street that's a dead-end street, one of the houses toward the end, where not a lot of traffic goes by on a weekday in the middle of the afternoon. And unfortunately, he collapsed. He suffered cardiac arrest. And by the grace of God and the angels that are watching over him, his neighbor, Rob Brennan, happened to be there at that moment, walking. And he picked up his head and he noticed Rob go down at that moment. Rob could have collapsed further down his driveway where nobody would have seen him, but at that moment, he happened to be in a spot where his neighbor could see him and respond to him. Adding to that miracle is the fact that Rob Brennan, who's here with us today, he's medically trained. He knows CPR, and he immediately responded and reacted as his training had taught him to do. And he was able to get to Rob, immediately begin CPR. And what adds to this story is the fact that Rob Brennan, I don't think had his cell phone with him at the time, but Rob Albert, who had collapsed, did. And Rob Albert's phone fell to the ground, and it was on, and he could access it. He could dial 911, and he did. And as a result of that, Lower Saucon Township police officers who are with us today, to my left, we have Officer Gunshore and Officer Krishnavi, immediately responded. They used the training that they had received to deal with this emergency. They used the equipment that was provided by the township. They had an AED, and they were able to respond to Rob. They took over. They provided him with chest compressions. They provided the AED. They shocked him, and he was taken by ambulance to St. Luke's Hospital. What's also significant to this is that one of Rob's neighbors, Ray Fitzpatrick, Dr. Ray Fitzpatrick, who's over here on the right, is a doctor. He's a cardiac care specialist at St. Luke's, and there's a host of number of great doctors that are there who provided excellent care to Rob at St. Luke's. He was in ICU for a number of days, and he's now here with us today. So I'm tremendously honored. Out of all the things I've done on council over the past 4 years, this is probably the greatest honor for me. I think it's a great honor for the community. There's a lot of things going wrong in the world today I think we can all agree upon, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on. Thanksgiving is here upon us, and this is something to give thanks for. So with that said, I would like to recognize first Rob Brennan, who is here with us today, for his efforts.
Dr. Brennan, this is a certificate of recognition. This certificate is proudly presented to Dr. Robert Brennan for recognizing a neighbor in need on October 16, 2023, and calling 911 for immediate assistance. Signed by the Township Manager, Council President, and presented by the Chief of Police. Thank you.
I would also like to recognize, obviously, Officers Gunshore and Krishnavy, who reacted without hesitation. Chief, I know that you have some resolutions for them as well.
I do.
Yeah. Please.
Jared, you can step up there. This is a life-saving award in recognition for your outstanding efforts on October 16, 2023, in which you responded to an unresponsive person in the roadway. You arrived to find a person in distress and used your experience and training to begin life-saving measures, including CPR and the use of an AED. You continue to work together as a team with Officer John Kirchnavi until the arrival of EMS, fire, and continue to assist where needed. Your efforts, teamwork, and actions were instrumental in preventing this tragedy. Thank you. Life-saving awards in recognition for your outstanding efforts on October 16, 2023, in which you responded to an unresponsive person in the roadway. You arrived to find a person in distress and used your experience and training to begin life-saving measures, including CPR and the use of an AED. You continued to work together as a team with Officer Jared Gunshore until the arrival of EMS, fire, and continue to assist where needed. Your efforts, teamwork, and actions were instrumental in preventing a tragedy. John? I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank the EMS who responds every day to our emergencies throughout the township and Hellertown, and our fire department who also assisted at the scene. So thank you to them as well.
I don't want to put Rob Albert on the spot, but if he feels that he wants to say something at this moment, feel free. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. I know that your and Peg's and Jackson's heartfelt appreciation goes out to everybody that helped you that day, and we're glad you're still here with us. Thank you. All right, Rob, we continue to wish you good health, speedy recovery, and enjoy the holidays with your family, enjoy Thanksgiving, and hopefully this is a good reminder to everybody about what's important. Thanks again. If there are people that are not here for the rest of the agenda, if you're here just for Rob's ceremony, we can pause for a couple minutes while you exit. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to. I know that a lot of people came to support Rob and certainly recognize those that were so heroic that day. All right, back to the original agenda. We now have public comment on agenda items, residents and taxpayers only, for a 3-minute time limit. Again, the policy for the resident and taxpayer commenting on agenda items is available outside the council meeting room. I would encourage anybody not familiar with it to review that and become familiar with it. With that said, I will begin the list. The first name we have on the list is Monica Willard. Monica Willard.
Well, it is a joy to follow that presentation because there's a lot to be thankful for. And one of the things the reason that I came tonight was a concern when I saw that there was an agenda item about voting machines and ways to waste the taxpayers' money and time, because we had an election that was won with an over 60% majority. And to think about there being possibilities of any kind of a disruption in our council voting, I don't know what you've said, where it's going, but I just want to say that I would hope there won't be any time wasted and taxpayers' money on any kind of litigation for the voting, and congratulations to the winners. And I want to say that that was a wonderful thing to say first, because we follow with Thanksgiving. And it's important for us to know that they came to this group to unite the community and to build a stronger community. And the motion that you just passed in private quarters that we just heard, I believe is referring to the landfill. And I think that it is a despicable action to take that in front of us when you have been voted so overwhelmingly that this community does not want that expansion. So I hope I'm wrong at what that message was when you came in. But if I'm right, I think there's going to be a lot of discontent in this community, and this is the time to kind of mend wounds, to move forward, and to really move in a way to give Thanksgiving for all.
Okay, thank you. Next is David Willard. David Willard. Third time, David Willard.
David Willard, 1809 Meadow Ridge Court. This is the last Willard that will appear at the podium tonight, I promise you. My question is related to the budget. First of all, I commended Mrs. Gorman on the way in for a very clear presentation. My question is related to the section that deals with the use of open space funds. I see that we have over $11 million in that fund, which is great. That was collected over many years with a 0.25% tax assessment. I saw that $500,000 is reserved for the Ballfield. I don't have much information on that project itself, but the $500,000 was noted as open space property development. And I thought that the idea behind the open space was that we weren't going to develop property. So I wonder if this meets both the spirit and the intent of the original legislation to which people were taxed at 0.25%.
Okay, thank you. Next is Joe Buba. Joe Buba.
Good evening.
Mr. Buba, before you begin,
Yes.
are you a resident or a taxpayer of Lower Saucon Township?
Yes, Mr. Bononis, I did put on the list. St. Luke's does own property at 2455 Black River Road.
Okay, hold on, my question is, are you a resident or a taxpayer of Lower Saucon Township?
No, I'm the attorney for that landowner.
Okay. What authority do you have to come before us to speak on behalf of St. Luke's Hospital?
Who gave me authority? The president and general counsel.
Do you have something in writing to that effect?
No.
Okay, then, sir, I don't think we can recognize you
Oh, you
because
got it.
you're
You-
not. Sir, you're not.
Mr. Bononis, do you?
I'm not done speaking, ma'am.
do you
Sir,
think
you're not a resident, you're not a taxpayer, and you have nothing in writing that authorizes you to speak on behalf of a client who is a resident or a taxpayer.
Do you think
So-
I would show up publicly and say I'm the attorney for St. Luke's if that were not accurate?
I'm asking
Sir.
the president to reconsider that and let
I
the
do,
gentleman
yeah.
speak.
Sir, I'm sorry, the rules are residents and taxpayers. We had this issue come up previously when an attorney on behalf of the landfill asked to speak, and we actually did not allow her to speak either because she was neither a resident nor a taxpayer, nor did she have anything confirming her authority to speak on behalf of her client. So with that said, we have to be uniform in how we apply our rules, sir. The rules are here for a reason, and the rules have to apply the same to St. Luke's. As much as we like St. Luke's, because St. Luke's obviously provides great health care to the community and employs a lot of our neighbors, unfortunately, we don't have anything that allows you to speak here.
Mr. Bononis, I don't think we've been treated consistently, but just so we're clear, just allow a couple other people to come up and speak, and by that time, you'll have written authorization. Okay.
I don't think, Mr. Buba, I don't think it's just a question of whether you have written authorization or not, because your client is not a resident or a taxpayer.
My client is
No, your client's not.
2455 Black River Road.
Your client is a corporation. A corporation can't have a residence.
Wait a minute, are you saying?
Is your corporate headquarters here?
Are you saying that a corporation that is located in Lower Saucon cannot address this board?
I'm saying a corporation that does not pay taxes to Lower Saucon Township, because you're not a taxpayer. Your client doesn't pay
It
taxes,
says
correct?
residents /
Resident.
taxpayers.
It says resident with an S, residence, not residence where you live, RESIDENTS.
Mr. Treadwell, I respect you tremendously.
I
Just so we
understand.
are making a record, your position now is nonprofit corporations.
Who don't pay
Because they
taxes.
do not pay taxes.
Yes.
Cannot speak at a public meeting in Lower Saucon Township.
Yes. Under the
Thank you.
current public policy resolution, public comment resolution, correct.
Can we stop posturing?
Thank you.
Why, Mr. Buba, why doesn't
All right.
Rick Anderson speak? Why doesn't Rick Anderson speak?
Yeah, Rick Anderson.
Rick Anderson can speak here. Why
So
doesn't
can
he
I
come?
speak here?
No, the question is you,
Look,
sir.
Rick
Hold on,
Anderson
question.
speak.
Look, everybody,
Said a
please,
corporation cannot
Please.
speak.
Or Ed Lynch can
Please.
come speak too.
Yeah, okay,
please.
yes.
We've had this discussion. Let's maintain decorum. I understand your position. You understand the township council's position. This is where we are.
Mr. Treadwell, just so it's clear, we never had this discussion. Before it
No, I said,
was,
we've just had this discussion.
Oh, it
Not
doesn't-
you and I had it before. No, we've just had this discussion. We know where everybody stands. That's the rules that are in place at the current time. Please abide by them.
I
and
will
let's-
abide by them. You don't need the cops.
The cops
I will
aren't-
walk a-
Nobody called the cops.
I will walk away, but everybody needs to understand the legal jeopardy that you're placing yourselves in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
understood.
All right, next is Frank Palumbo. Next is Frank Palumbo. Frank Palumbo. I did.
First thing I want to say is I can't wait till January 2nd. First thing I want to say, I can't wait
Start the
for
clock, please.
January 2nd. I won't need the 3 minutes, so you don't have to worry about the timing. I was here many a times, and I told you the township will take care of you guys, and at the ballot box, we've just done that. So congratulations to
Is that an
everybody. who's
agenda
won.
item you're speaking to, sir?
Yes, I'm speaking about the election.
Okay.
And I had a great experience at the election. So I don't know who's complaining about it, but I'm not surprised to see this on the agenda right now. So again, congratulations to those who've won, and I'm not sorry to see those that lost leave.
Okay. Next is Robert Thompson. Robert Thompson.
Good evening. Robert Thompson, 1819 Viola Lane, and I'm addressing specifically agenda items 5, D, E, and F. And after that healthy discussion we just had a couple of moments ago, I should note that F is the St. Luke's issue, and I'll be happy to talk about that. But anyway, my point here is I don't understand why any of these items are on the agenda, because it is my understanding that any alleged complaints or alleged improprieties should go directly to the County Board of Elections. Lower Saucon Council has no standing in this because you represent all of the residents. And so these items should not even be discussed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Maya Simon. Maya Simon.
My name is Maya Simon. I live on Bingham Road. I am addressing those same 3 items on the agenda. I say exactly what the previous speaker said, that this is not business for the Township Council. The Township Council has no jurisdiction over the elections. And it feels, oh dear, I'm gonna have to say that word again. It feels corrupt.
Okay, thank you. Next is Natalie Hadjalakova. Natalie Hadjalovka? Sorry if I mispronounced
I'll
that.
try one more time.
Maybe you can help me.
Natalie Hodgelucas,
Thank you.
Colesville Road. It's also my pleasure to serve as the majority inspector on the Board of Elections for District 8. To echo the lady and gentleman who spoke before me, I'm very puzzled to see mention of our elections on the township business items this evening. But as long as we're there, I want to take this opportunity to thank all my friends and neighbors who came out to vote, and we saw at the polling places for District 7 and 8 who voted by mail and who otherwise made your voices heard. We can affect positive change thanks to all of you. So you have my heartfelt gratitude for standing up and being counted. As long as this is on the agenda for this evening here at the township meeting, I want to take this opportunity to remind everyone and encourage you to attend the County Board of Elections meeting regarding this past election. That's going to be held Tuesday, November 21st. That's at 3 p.m. at the Northampton County Courthouse. This is the proper forum for airing issues regarding to the past election, difficulties with the voting machines, and it's where you should go to make your voice heard. I encourage anyone who's able to attend this, including council people who have these concerns, and let them know what you feel about the difficulties that we encountered, and join me in asking for more contingency plans and more thorough checking to be put into place to avoid something like this in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mark Kellner. Mark Kellner. One more time, Mark Kellner.
I live on Old Philadelphia Pike. 3717 is right up the street.
We can't, you got to raise it up or something.
Sorry. And my question about the election is that who actually pays for these machines? Is it the elections board or is it the residents here of Lower Saucon?
It's the county.
The county?
Just
so I'll
The
remind you
county?
that this is
So
public
we don't have a
comment, so-
say in it whatsoever? And to me, this last election, there were anomalies. 2022, there were anomalies. So, and if you have to go over the votes again, what use are these machines? to me, in my eyes, something went wrong. And we're wasting money actually continuing to do this when there's a lot cheaper and simpler way to do this with paper ballots and recount. I'll volunteer to count. But now, anybody else, you know, everybody's got the right to their own opinion, the way they look at things, the way they vote. I don't care who won and who lost on your board. It's the process. And if we can't get that right, how does anybody know who actually won? Now, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Next is Bob Blasco. Bob Blasco. One more time, Bob Blasco.
I do have to say, from attending other meetings,
Priscilla,
sitting in
you're
the
not
back of the
recognized.
room. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it anyway.
You're not recognized.
You can't hear.
You're not recognized. Mr. Blasco has the microphone.
She said some people can't hear.
You heard me, sir. You're in front of the microphone, right?
Okay, I'd like to address one of the items here. It says Election Day problems, that you're going to be possible action, discussion and possible action. You mean like the 2 times that Carochi was approached during the primaries and told he was too close to the door, and the fact that he left after the 2nd time he was approached by the constable? Do you mean by the times that people watched you walk into the polling place with people? Are those what you're going to investigate? And then you have an item on here about LST voter complaints, or no, excuse me, possible action on St. Luke's Health Network political activity and involvement in municipal elections. I understand it's okay for the landfill to hire a PAC to endorse people, but not St. Luke.
Okay, thank you. Next is Marco Zimic. Marco Zimic.
Hello, Lower Saucon. I was going to turn this down and bypass this, but after everybody's speaking, I figured I'd throw my bag of bones in it. Everything's listed as possible action, possible action, possible action, possible action. It's all you guys want to do, possible action. Keep spending taxpayer money. But you know what? I ran the machine at Lower Saucon 6 for a couple years, and over the course of that time, the only problem that there's been a problem, the only time there's been a problem is at the last election, and it had nothing to do with the township. So your possible action needs to go out the window and quit blowing money. Like the other girl said, show up at Northampton County and complain there. So,
That's where it's supposed to
yeah.
go.
Yeah, that's about all. And the only problem with those machines was what showed up on the paper ticket when you read it. As far as I remember, I had less than a half a dozen people question me and complain about it. So whatever the problem is, it's not a big problem. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Next is Lynn Hill. Lynn Hill.
Good evening, everyone. Lynn Hill. First, I want to discuss the budget. The percent increase in only 3 years, from 2021 to now, the 2024 budget projects a 24.5% increase in the executive section of the budget, 12.5% on the finance and admin department, 100% plus increase in legal fees, over 700% increase in data processing, 25% increase in police, nearly 47% increase in highway expenses, for a grand total of over almost $11,000, which is about what our expenses are projected to be for the year. This is an outrage. It's easy to spend somebody else's money. Would you actually be spending 40% increase of your own money? No. It's just too easy to spend somebody else's money, isn't it? I've seen the finances of this township skyrocket, and it has to stop. I'll just spend another minute on the election. I volunteered at Southeastern, precinct number 6. I was there for 5 hours volunteering. I was also there for about a half hour voting. And during those times, there were numerous times when the judge of elections came out and explained this little error problem and offered people provisional ballots. Anyone who wanted one could have voted that way. The people that are complaining about this little glitch probably just are not familiar with the complex set of sophisticated procedures that are implemented in order to ensure an accurate vote count. So I would think that these comments are probably based on a lack of understanding of how an election is actually counted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Stacy Mazinski. Stacy Mazinski.
Good evening, Stacy Mazinski, Roberts Avenue, Steel City. So I'd like to discuss these agenda items pertaining to the election. So in relation to this, your complaints about your concerns about the election, on Sunday the 12th, the Republicans invited Republicans to their headquarters at 2523 Willow Park Road regarding election irregularities that occurred on Tuesday, November 7th. The meeting was led by Representative McKenzie, who's a resident of our township, and was intended to gather statements and fuel a lawsuit to stir the voting machine pot. I was appalled by my party, the Republican Party, could not, and I could not believe how they were acting. They weren't acting like adults. You need to concede with dignity, and that's not what this was all about. So I was appalled that I left. 2 of the Republican Mackenzie's attorney thugs followed me and harassed me all the way to my car with their phones in hand, recording my car and myself, all because I would not fill out their forms that they wanted me to file yet another lawsuit to spend more taxpayer money. To what end? Because they didn't like the fact that there was an error in the voting machines. Enough's enough. Stop spending our money. Stop harassing the citizens. Concede and move on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Laura Ray. Laura Ray.
Laura Ray, I'll talk about some different topics. I'll agree with everything that was said. Item 5J, the paving project that's going out for bid. So I think it's an egregious waste of $1 million of taxpayer money. The township currently owns 2 pavers and a roller, and we have a quote for over $500,000 to replace one of the pavers for next year. That will be approved tonight. Yet for no reason other than to waste our reserve funds, you want to bid out a paving project. It's not paving season, so it seems too early to even do this right now. There's no urgent need. I drove every single one of those roads that you listed there yesterday to see what kind of shape they're in, thinking they must be crumbling and falling apart. But guess what? They're not. Other than Frederick Street, all of these roads are not through streets. They're private little neighborhoods. So the only traffic going on those roads are the people that actually live there, their mailman, their delivery truck like the UPS guy, The roads don't go anywhere, so they do not get heavy traffic or heavy use. There's no urgent need to pave these roads right now. Also, I would say Frederick Street and Yost Avenue, which are in a weird place, do need work. However, why don't we just put them on the list for our public works to do and prioritize them accordingly based on what shape other roads are in that are on that road, that are on that list. Item 5H, the ballpark improvements. So there was a lot of statements made at August 16th when the initial $1.9 million was approved on the project. There was a motion made to look at new grants next year, investigate public and private partnerships to help fund this, look for better pricing on the components, and have the Diamond League look into what kind of fundraising they can do. And this was to happen before we would move on and look at phase 2. Yet here is phase 2 on the agenda tonight to look at locking into another $1.3 million on this project. So it's over a $3 million ballpark. We were told 600 players, maybe a third of them might be from Lower Saucon Township. So for 200 players, this is an awfully huge investment with very little public input. And it was also stated at August 16th that the Ballfield and the historic cemetery right there are not in the rezoned light manufacturing district. It indeed absolutely is right in the middle of that LM rezoned area. So is that the right place to spend that much money on a ballpark? And item 5G, the action on the joint comprehensive plan.
You could wrap up your comments,
I
please.
need 2 more minutes because I can't even get to.
Denied. You could wrap up your comments. There's other people
I
that
will
need to speak.
remember that, believe me.
Thank you. All right. Next is Lisa Foley. Lisa Foley.
Hi, my name is Lisa Foley, 1670 Briarwood Circle. First, I'd like to say that I do think this is the appropriate venue to discuss any voter issues because it happened in our area. I'm here as both a voter and a precinct worker. We saw yet again irregularities in the November 7th election as electronic selections did not match the paper copy. My personal vote involving the judicial retention race was flipped. And during the day, I had to assist voters as they exited the booth very frustrated because their electronic selections did not match the paper. We received 4 different messages from the courthouse that day. The first instructing us to use emergency ballots and stop using the machines. Then we were told to inform voters that even though their votes were flipping, we should tell them that their votes would be corrected during the count. The next message instructed us to tell the voters simply that their votes were being switched. The last message was to just tell the voters to go ahead and vote the way they intended to vote. It was confusing to say the least. At our precinct, we became so busy, the message was forgotten as each of us were simply trying to keep the line moving. I got in touch with Audit the Vote PA and was able to give some of the voters a platform to report their issues, which in my opinion should have been coming from our state. Voters were angry and confused, understandably. At the end of the evening, when I was required to sign the receipts, I signed mine next to the statement, "not accurate." I have not heard from anyone at the courthouse asking me for any clarification. The other election workers in my precinct simply signed theirs. I have a canvassing form to share with all voters, and I feel we should all be filling it out concerning this past election. I'm happy to share that with anyone who would like it. I also have a list of the anomalies for Northampton County from the 2020 election. My information comes from the State Department voter registration data. It is verified and publicly available to all Pennsylvania citizens through a right-to-know request. 2020 definitely woke me up as a voter. It seems to many of us that we do not have elections in our state, we have selections. November 7th just proved our point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Matt McLaren. Matt McLaren.
Yes, I'm planning on coming, yes. I'm here to basically.
Mr. McLaren, hold on a second.
Yep.
Ms. Foley?
Yes.
Is there a gentleman who's giving you a hard time back there? Because there's, our policy for our public comments are there should not be comments going back and forth among people in the audience, yelling, harassment, or anything like that. Is that what's happening?
I think he was speaking to someone over there.
Okay, fair enough. I just want to make sure that, that things are being,
Did comment to me after.
fair enough. All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. McLaren?
Yeah, so, I would like to start here, basically, on your public comment procedure.
We can't hear you, Matt. Put the mic.
I would like to start here on the public comment procedure. Many years ago, probably 10 years ago now, I don't know when this got switched, but it was switched by the board to where we have the public commenting on things that they truly do not understand, such as all the actions that are about to take place on some of these election issues, which some people want to talk here tonight about. I think that if I was the new council members, that would be the first thing I would change is this public comment procedure, because I don't feel it's right to our taxpayers. I think there's a lot of people in this room with a lot of knowledge on many different topics, and it's a shame that the people can't actually give, you know, a reasonable response to some of the discussions that go on here, or suggestions, which I have and many other people did in the past when Sandra was on the board and Priscilla was on the board, you know, almost 10 years ago today. So as far as these election day problems, I'm gonna make a plea to pretty much Mrs. Yerger and Mr. Inglis. And I know it's tough to break through the other two, but I don't think that's gonna happen tonight, is that, you know, this hole that some of these council members have dug is pretty deep into litigation that's going on and all kinds of other items, you know, and I think it's a perfect time to start filling this hole back in our township and becoming, you know, something that we should be, you know. I think, you know, I've only been here for the past year, and the actions of some of the members of this board are truly despicable. And, you know, not letting one of the biggest, you know, lawyers for a hospital in the region speak at this meeting and link you giving that advice to them, it is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I would highly question any advice that's been given this past year on any of the decisions in this township, because I know for a fact, I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say, but I guarantee some of this advice doesn't come from you. Probably comes from the other two who have professions in the same legal standing as you. So I would warn you, as this meeting continues and the actions that you take, think about the next council that's gonna be in about January 2nd, and things will change. I very, very much appreciate, and I feel bad for Sandra because I feel she had integrity. She's a good citizen, and she actually listens to us sometimes. The other ones, you know, that circle that you thought you had of friends is a lot smaller than you thought it was.
Okay, thank you. Next is Paul Tucker. Paul Tucker. Paul Tucker. Pass, okay. Next is Victoria O period C period. Victoria O period C period.
Thank you very much. First, there's a number of items on the agenda, and I will say I am very concerned that the agenda is filled with so many different things with a limit of 3 minutes that people are unable to really discuss each item. I'm also very concerned that the agenda items themselves are not specific enough for anybody to really understand what the council is going to consider, what action they are considering, and therefore the community is left in the dark. I am hopeful that the council will, in the next 6 weeks,
move in a spirit of Thanksgiving. As we heard at the beginning of this meeting, I am hopeful that we can all work together and work as a community. I think we all are a community. We see each other at the grocery store. We see each other at the park. We see each other at the children's baseball games and all the other events that happen in our community. And I'm hopeful that with what we saw happen on November 7th, we can all come together and work together and find common ground with one another and put our parties aside for the better of our community. I am very concerned that I see a number of budget items. I think all of us would like to see our taxpayer dollars used responsibly. I would like us to honor the things that we have said at meetings on council, where we indicated we were going to get grants and really work hard for those things. And it does not appear right now that we're trying to save taxpayer dollars. And that is very, very concerning to me in light of the information we heard about the increase in the overall budget expenditures. Some of those expenditures are absolutely necessary and important, but to just continue to spend a blank check is irresponsible. Finally, because I don't have enough time to really talk about everything that's on the agenda, I would like to say that anybody who has a concern about the election should go to the Northampton County elections meeting on November 21st. If you're looking for a body who can actually take action on the things that you are concerned about, the people that have standing to do that are at Northampton County. They are not at Lower Saucon Township, and I certainly implore this board not to spend any more taxpayer dollars, whether it's administrative or legal, on taking any action where you don't have standing. Thank you.
All right, next is Dave Boulan. Dave Boulan.
Hi, I'm Dave Boulan. I'm not running for office, but I will make some comments in terms of the election. And it was really good to hear somebody else that's like me, is a thinking person and is a judge of elections and will speak up and speak out and doesn't have a bunch of thugs behind him. Now, here we go. I'm judge of elections, have been for 4 or 5 years at various locations. Never had a problem, never had a comment. I can tell you, Moravian on the Hill, where I judge this time around, this is about the 7th or 8th time I've judged, all right? The bottom line is it was a zoo. And anybody that sits there and says, oh, gee, these are just little infractions, better wake up. You know, if your brakes start to fail on your car and it pulls to the left, you just ignore it. Here we are. We were told in 2020 or whatever, gee, it's just a little problem. By the way, yeah, I reviewed the information on these ES&S machines. I will be more than happy to share with anybody in this audience the report of an independent counsel from the governor of Texas that shows these. Go ahead, laugh. You all laugh. You won't give me the time of day, and people like AOC or whatever her name is will sit there and say we need to pull together, but then the minions, like this one up here, smiling and taking pictures, does that. Yeah, I know, shake your head. Okay, bottom line, I don't want to hear from you. I've been a judge of elections. What I see is that the reporting on the screen is not the same in the ballot. Well, gee, how about we elected maybe 90% of Republicans? Boy, I'll tell you, we'd have people in here threatening people's lives. Oh, I'm sorry, we already do. We settled that one. Now, yeah, no, board. We did. So I'm sorry, do you have the floor, sir? All right.
Hold on, Mr. Bland. Mr. Ozimick, if you cannot control yourself, there's a gentleman who's been recognized by this council to speak, okay? You had your opportunity to speak, so please do not interrupt him, do not threaten him, do not say anything to him. Do you understand me? If it happens again, I'm going to ask the police to remove you, sir. Sir, do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I'm way ahead of you.
Okay. Mr. Bland, please proceed.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, Board of Elections, I've got it here, right here in my notes. Everybody should go down to the Northampton thing, although we've already been told by the officials of Northampton County, all of which are one party, there's nothing to see here. St. Luke's, okay? Here we go.
Be respectful.
When is it that a sad day when a billion-dollar company organized with 12 hospitals, 300 outpatients, 1,600 employees, and the CEO has enough time when he's got people leaving his company, sit down and write mail and tell you you ought to dump the dump, okay? And by the way, the sewage that flows down the river right in front of St. Luke's main headquarters, which doesn't pay taxes, because I looked it up too. And by the way, there's a little town that's gone out of business because of it. By the way, flows down the river, they say nothing. The stench from the plant, nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Bland. All right, that concludes the public comment on agenda items only. We'll move on now to developer items. First item is zoning hearing board application variance 07-23 for 3564 Lower Saucon Road, Richards. Is anyone here for that matter? Please come forward. Yeah, you can sit at the table if you want.
You can turn that one on too if you want to. Oh, okay, there you go. But you thank you.
Folks, if you just identify yourselves for the record.
Mark Richards.
Mallory Richards?
Okay. All right, Mark?
Yes, the Richards are looking to build a small garage on their property. Due to the layout of their property, they would like to build it along the edge, closer to the setback. So they're looking to build their garage, accessory garage, 15 feet from the side yard setback, where a 40-foot setback is required.
All right.
The adjoining property is the Hellertown Reservoir property.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to what the township manager had provided to us?
No, that's accurate.
Okay. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question. What about stormwater control, moving buildings and stuff like that? Has the engineer, have you looked at the application, Brian? Does anything pop out at you as far as stormwater controls?
I have not looked at it. Are you proposing, from what I see here, 250 square feet? Size of the building you want?
No, it's going to be 30 by 32.
It's 960.
So it's under the 1,200 square feet, which would trigger stormwater management?
Correct.
All right, so they're good. I just, because we always have stormwater problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the whole reason I'm trying to go for the variance, because the back of our property is very wet. And that area where I'm proposing is the safest place for it.
And sir, the reason you can't move it closer to your house is because your septic system is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you can't go in the back because of all the drainage issues which you sent us pictures of?
I have supplied some photos.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
All right, anything else from council? Brian, anything else? All right, so I will make a motion to take no position on the variance. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Mark?
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Let me just explain. So when we take no position on this, that doesn't mean that we're not necessarily opposed to you or anything else. It just means that if we're not taking a position, we don't have to send this guy, who's our solicitor, to the zoning hearing board meeting. So you'll proceed to the zoning hearing board meeting. That will be scheduled in due course, and you get to present your request to the zoning hearing board at that point, okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, the next item we have on the agenda is zoning hearing board application variance 08-23-3646 Route 378. Allentown SMSA Limited Partnership. And I see we have counsel here, Ms. Durso, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, and if you could just identify your clients for us, please.
Kate Durso on behalf of the applicant Allentown SMSA, which is doing business as Verizon Wireless. We have Sue Manchell. She is the site acquisition representative, and could you have the microphone, sorry.
Stephanie Mulhern, professional engineer with Collier's Engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Are there mics on?
Yeah, just speak.
He's saying, yeah, sorry, I saw him going like this.
All right, Mark, do you want to start?
It is green.
You could also use the handheld if you want.
Okay.
I'll make sure we talk louder.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Ms. Durso, do you want to start?
Sure. We have submitted a application to the zoning hearing board requesting some variances for the erection of a wireless communication facility at property located at 3646 PA Route 378. The property is located in the general business commercial zoning district where wireless communication facilities are permitted by conditional use. Just by way of background, the site, Verizon Wireless has identified a need for a site along 378 Mountain Drive and some of the surrounding areas, Black River Road. When Ms. Manchell went out looking for available properties, she first came to the township to see if the township was interested in having a site at the municipal complex where we are located here. We also looked into putting a site at the fire company, and neither of which were interested in having the site. She also looked at the shopping center that's across 378, and we're not interested as well. So they came upon this property. Again, it is zoned to allow the facility. It does require tower setback variances, which we have submitted for. We've also submitted for a height variance and to use the existing access drive in its current condition. We have submitted all of our materials and understand that we would not be able to proceed with the conditional use until the zoning variances would be granted, if they are going to be granted. But we're happy to answer any other questions. It is a standard, what we call monopole type structure, which is rather than a lattice tower, which is what I'll call like a see-through tower. This is a steel pole. It would be used for Verizon Wireless. It would be designed to accommodate co-location of other carriers. From a traffic standpoint, it would only generate vehicles, sports utility type vehicle, once every 4 to 6 weeks for maintenance. So it is an unmanned facility. The only utilities necessary for it to operate is electric and telephone services. No public sewer, no sewer at all, and no water. The property owner has entered into a lease agreement with Verizon Wireless, and obviously the lease agreement is contingent upon getting all necessary approvals. There also is a removal contingency in that lease agreement should the tower be, should there not be a need in the future for the tower to be used, it would have to be removed within 90 days of ceasing of the use. Your ordinance has a number of documents that will be required to be submitted as part of either the conditional use process or as part of the zoning hearing board process. That being confirmation that the FAA does not have an issue with the facility, that the PA Bureau of Aviation has no objection, both of which we have received. We also will be providing copies of Verizon Wireless FCC licenses, as well as the EMF compliance report and the propagation plots and a photo simulation as part of the presentation to the zoning hearing board.
All right, anything else?
Nope, we are happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
All right, a couple of things that jump out at me. One is that the towers, you're proposing locating it closer than 1.5 times the height of the tower. You're also proposing that the tower be located within 180 feet of Route 378. And you're also proposing a tower that is 17% taller than what's permitted by the ordinances, right?
That's correct.
What are the hardships that require all these things?
The hardships are dictated by the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996, which has provisions in it relating to the ability for a wireless communication service that has a significant gaps in wireless service to be able to provide that coverage. In this area, we're limited to certain properties to which they are zoned to allow for wireless communication facilities. As I explained at the start, there are only a number of properties that are large enough for a wireless communication facility to be located and be able to maintain the setback requirements that are set forth in the zoning ordinance. In this case, those larger property owners were not interested in allowing the wireless communication facility to be located on their property. So we then went to this property, which obviously requires variances, but we would believe that meets the standards of the Telecommunications Act and the recent case law set forth in the Third Circuit.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
Yes, I do. First of all, one of your maps or drawings, you have City of Bethlehem down as a municipality. It should be this Lower Saucon Township, somewhere in there. So that needs to be changed. The other thing is, you know, I've been here a long time, and we wrote the ordinance for cell towers, and then the FCC said no, so everything had to change. And we were left with setting setbacks, so we figured that that's really what we could do to, you know, for input for an application. So now, can we link, okay, so here we have one, and what Jason was saying about the fall distance and all that stuff. We have I-78, 378, that's right there. It's 180 foot. We have a resident that's 29 feet away from it. How can that be? How can that person living in that occupied house be 19 feet away and have it be okay? Did I not read your, I think I read that out of there, right?
29 feet to the northern property line, that's not a residence.
Well, how close is the residence to their property line?
The closest residence is 200, the monopole will be less than 263 feet from the residential dwellings located at 3642 Route 378 and 3640 Route 378, which are also located within the GB zoning district. The other thing I would say, as far as the setbacks go, the designs of these wireless communication facilities are such that they're not designed to collapse upon themselves, up onto their side, so that there is no need from a structural standpoint or design standpoint to have to be set back the full height of the tower.
So you're saying they would collapse into themselves? There's a word for that, and I don't know it.
So what we call it is they're designed with what we'll call a weak point, so that the loading of the tower is such that the antennas at the top have most of the loading. So if the facility, obviously they're designed not to fail, but if they were to fail, they would relieve themselves of the loading at the top and then collapse upon itself. Sort of like if you see a straw and the straw would be bending upon itself, as opposed to falling at the base down along its side. That has been, and the other thing is that from a structural standpoint, the standards have evolved as time has gone. They're up to what we call manual G. They started with A, and that was a long time ago. And they evolve and they design. You can also specifically design a structural monopole to have a specific weak point, to say that we want it to be designed such that the top third will be the weakest point.
And I would just like to step in and just say that they are designed to have a weak point. They are over-designed at the bottom so that they will not fall. They will buckle. They will kind of deflect. It will just deflect, just like a paperclip would. They will not snap. That's just not how they are designed.
Okay, I just live near a wooded area and I know what trees do.
Well,
so
right, it's a different material, right?
Okay.
The steel.
The steel versus the wood, yeah.
I guess the road that's going in there, what's there now that there's a road currently?
There's just the existing access into the business.
To a business?
Yeah, there's a parking lot and a business on the property,
Right.
yeah. The parking lot primarily.
Can a fire truck fit down that width?
Yeah, well, it's basically an open area, and then we designate the portion of it to which we have the easement, because the ordinance requires that, but they can access whatever's there now, which would be the business.
All right, I think you answered all my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Anything else from the applicant?
we don't have anything else.
All right. I'm going to make a motion to direct the solicitor to oppose the zoning hearing board application variance 08-23 for 3646 Route 378.
Is there a reason?
I made my motion.
I'll second.
And now that the motion's made and seconded, I have a question. So what was the reason?
I made my motion. I don't have to answer your question.
So
I made a motion to ask the solicitor to attend the zoning hearing board meeting to oppose this.
He's going to go there and stand up and say, I oppose this based on the president of council asked me to come here to stand there in front of the zoning hearing board.
Priscilla, you've been on council for a long time, and you've directed the solicitor to go and oppose things.
With reasons.
Well,
I don't think
my
I
reasons are, I talked about each one of those points in the ordinance. 180-127.1A2A1A, which talks about the height, location no closer than 1.5 times the height of the tower. 180-127.1A2A5D, which talks about locating it 1.5 times away, and in this case, it's a 150-foot tower. I'm sorry, 175-foot tower that's being proposed that will be within 180 feet, only 5 feet away from Route 378 if it was to collapse on its side. 180-127.1A2E3, which is the height of the tower that they're proposing is 175 feet, where 150 feet is permitted. I haven't seen anything that's been presented to us that suggests any sort of hardship to require these accommodations, and I made a motion to oppose. Tom seconded it. So I think the comments are pretty clear, but with that said, Mark, would you call the roll?
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
No.
No, I voted to send link to the meeting.
I don't think yes, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay,
I take a no action.
fair enough.
Take the previous one.
Okay.
Ms. Yerger?
No.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Caroci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Jeez. I don't see a hardship either. I'm going to vote with Jason. I'm going to vote yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
All right, next up, we have Resolution 64-2023, final adoption of the 2024 proposed budget. Mark or Kathy, you want to speak to this at all before I have some comments?
The budget was advertised. Let them get over with. Sorry. Yes, the budget was advertised after our last meeting when it was tentatively approved. It was available in the township building for inspection, and it was placed on the website for inspection. So we are bringing the budget to you as tentatively approved at our last meeting for final approval.
All right, well, I guess I'll start. Kathy, the current tax rate that we have is 5.14 mil, correct? And within that is a 0.75 mil fire services tax.
Correct.
And the remaining real estate tax that the township has is 4.39 mil.
Correct.
And the township has about $7.1 million in cash.
Correct.
And paving projects that we've done the past 2 years have been about $1 million apiece, right?
Correct.
And there's going to be another $2.5 million of landfill revenue anticipated for 2024, right?
Correct.
And within the money that the township has in savings, there's about $3 million that's in unrestricted money market fund.
Correct.
So it seems that the township is very flush with cash. And I'd like to bring to everybody's attention a legal decision. The case is called Woke versus Lower Merion School District, and it's Woke, W-O-L-K, not the curriculum. This was a class action lawsuit that was against the Lower Merion School District that sought to enact a 4.4% tax increase despite the school district having amassed tens of millions of dollars in budget surpluses over the years. And in that case, the judge ordered the school district to rescind and reduce the tax, and as a result of that, the school district was forced to return $26 million in taxpayer money. It's my position, first, that the government should not be holding taxpayers' hard-earned money in a savings account. I think that the taxpayers should keep their money. Second, the township, this township, may be subject to litigation and costs, no offense, Link, that would force it to return at additional cost taxpayer money and reduce taxes. Third, Lower Saucon Township households in the current economic climate, out of control inflation due to Bidenomics, are burdened. And as a result of that, I think everybody's tax dollars are very important to them in this climate. Fourth, Kathy, if we were to enact a tax cut, we could still present a balanced budget while maintaining all the services that the residents and taxpayers have grown to expect, correct?
For 2024, yes.
Yes, all right. So, in my opinion, what I would like to do is I'd like to reduce the real estate tax from 4.39 mil to an even 2.0 mil while maintaining fire services tax at its current level of 0.75 mil. In my opinion, anybody who opposes that is simply a tax and spend person who wants to redistribute our taxpayers' hard-earned money and wealth. They don't appreciate the value of people's earnings, and they want to hoard our residents' money for whatever purposes they have. With that said, I'm sure there's going to be further comments on that, but I'm going to make a motion to revise the proposed budget, reducing the real estate tax from 4.39 mils to 2.0 mils while maintaining the current 0.75 mil fire services tax. Also directing the township staff to immediately re-advertise the proposed budget for possible action by council at a public meeting taking place in December after the requisite advertising period has elapsed. Does anybody have any comments as to that?
Kathy, there's $7 million in the bank, and we'll next year we'll get another $2.5 million from the landfill projected.
Well, that's encompassed in the 10 million.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll second it. I'll second the motion.
All right. Anybody else?
Kathy, what would be a normal savings amount for a township of our size? What should we keep in reserve? What would be considered a standard?
Not many municipalities are standard. However, I would think that somewhere in between the amount of your budget for a year, or somewhere in between the revenue that is more volatile. So I would say probably 3 million was the policy that we had adopted during our budget advisory in the event of a revenue shortfall, if the landfill were to close for operations for any reason, if we had any revenue risk. The parameters as to what our mark has never really been set by council as to the amount of money that we should be set aside in normal operating costs. But that being said, in an environment like we have, I would imagine somewhere close to in between what your operating budget is or what your volatile revenue is, to be safe.
So our revenue, as I understand, is not volatile, correct? Our real estate taxes have been fairly consistent. Our earned income taxes have been fairly consistent, including during COVID, which I believe was our highest year for earned income taxes, as well as the revenue that comes from the landfill, at least for the past 3 years, has consistently averaged around $2.5 million, right?
For the last several years, yes.
And the landfill has, as I understand, a projected lifespan of another 4 or 5 years, correct?
25.
Correct.
Okay.
Maybe 25.
maybe. Well, I'm just talking current.
No.
So what's our budget surplus for next year, in summary?
We are actually taking money out of our reserves, and I believe we are projecting I think it was 800. Hold on, let me just, I want to be accurate here. $279,000.
We're taking out of reserves.
No, 279,000 is pretty much what we're gonna have after everything's said and done.
All right, so we're spending everything we bring in.
Close to,
Okay.
yep,
But we have $7 million in the bank,
correct,
which is 4 million over the 3 million
correct.
that council.
Under our unrestricted fund balance policy,
Right,
yes.
so we have 4 million more. To me, that, I kind of agree with Jason that, it's the taxpayers' money, it's not ours. And, you know, it needs to,
Just
either
occurring
be
to you
spent
now?
on
That is taxpayers'
parks
money.
and, you know,
Well, to be honest with you, to be consistent with what I said before, I don't think you can run a township on a savings account. I don't think that's good fiscal management. So, yeah, but you guys all didn't like that before when I said that. So I don't know why you like it now, but that's what I said before and that's what I'm saying now.
Well, the other part that I would add is just my comments about the Wolk versus Lower Merion School District. I don't want to subject the township to needless litigation. There's complaints that we heard. There's complaints that I heard from the public that they don't like our legal spend. And I hear them loud and clear, and I'm trying to avoid legal spend. So I think one way to do that is to not allow open that risk to get sued in a class action or otherwise and be forced to return that money and spend a lot of money defending that issue. I think it's pointless. So I made my motion.
I second it because we can afford it.
I have questions after the motion was made and seconded. So if I'm understanding this correctly, we advertised our budget for 20 days, and today is the day that we need to take action on the advertised 20-day budget, correct? And finalize it.
We don't. But Priscilla, you opposed advertising it. This makes no sense.
I'm asking a question.
Go ahead.
And you also opposed the budget, as I
This
recall.
doesn't mean that I'm going to support it. I'm just asking a question. So, okay, so now we're at our 20th, I don't know, today's our 20th day, I don't know, but the day that we need to vote on it. And according to the second class code, it says you can only raise something up 1% or down in this budget because it was advertised, and this is what the public saw. So I don't know what that criteria is. So because with Jason's motion, throwing it way out of that, so now it has to be re-advertised.
Correct.
So the 20 days. So when's the 20 days and when's was that going to be, what date's that going to be for a calendar?
It's 10 days advertising.
10 days.
What do you mean tentative?
It needs to be re-advertised for 10 days.
Oh, only 10 days this time, not 20 days?
No.
Okay, so where does that put us then in December?
Depending on, I mean, I'm not going to answer, well, I will answer for Mark. Depending on how quickly it could go into the newspaper, 10 days from that date, so it puts you somewhere maybe before our December 6th meeting, maybe not. If not, then we'd have to have a special meeting.
Yeah, Christmas meetings are always fun. Okay, thank you.
All right, unless there's any other comments, can we call the roll?
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Caroci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Motion doesn't pass.
All right, are there any other motions? All right, having heard no other motions, I guess we'll move on to the next item. We have Resolution 65-2023, fixing the general purpose tax levy for 2024.
So Jason's motion was to change it, but does that mean, did anybody vote on final adopting the,
I said there were no other motions that were made. I moved on to the next item.
I'm just asking.
So I moved on to Resolution 65-2023, fixing the general purpose tax levy for 2024.
We don't have a vote on the final adoption of the 2024 budget.
I asked if there are any other motions
that
on that
my fault?
agenda item, and nobody responded that they wanted to make another motion. So I moved on to the next agenda item. I think that's the appropriate thing to do.
Yeah, we can do it December 6th.
So
We can do it December 6th. Let's move
Resolution
on.
65-2023, fixing the general purpose tax levy for 2024. Mark or Kathy, do you want to comment on that?
Vote on that resolution because the budget wasn't passed. How long have you been here?
I don't think that's right.
Any comments on the next agenda item?
We can't vote on it.
No?
Okay.
And we can't
I haven't
vote
heard a
on
motion on it, so I'll move on to the next item, Resolution 66-2023, fixing the earned income tax, real estate transfer tax, and local services tax for general purpose. Any comments on that item? Do you have any motion? Having heard none, I'll move on to the next item, which is discussion and possible action on Lower Saucon Township voter complaints about election day problems. So, I guess I'll start again. So, on election day, I received numerous complaints from Lower Saucon residents about problems that they were experiencing in multiple precincts within the township. They were describing it as chaotic, and some of the examples were voting machines switching votes, poor handling of the quote glitch, especially as far as communication from poll judges, shutting down and or sending voters away in some polls, a lack of provisional and emergency ballots available, lack of communications from the judges of elections of poll workers to voters about the issues despite communications supposedly given to them by elections, lack of available provisional ballots within Lower Saucon Township, mishandling of the provisional ballots within the Lower Saucon Township precincts, voter intimidation at the polls, seeking to turn away prospective voters, lack of anonymity, confidentiality, and security to the election process, refusal by election workers to support and assist the voters, and other things that appear to be possible violations. I found all those problems to be deeply concerning to election integrity, and it's not just for one party, it's for all voters regardless of party affiliation. Anyone who says that those problems did not happen, in my view, are simply gaslighting the issue. I witnessed several of the problems myself. I think we owe it to our country and to every one of our citizens in Lower Saucon Township to get elections right. There's nothing more than fundamental than free and fair elections. There's also urgency to immediately look into these problems and find solutions so that they do not repeat. It seems that the Northampton County Executive's Office will not be accepting responsibility or doing anything or does not care about those fundamental flaws. It's my understanding that the county and ES&S, the manufacturer and supplier of those machines, were previously sued over voting machines switching votes. And they entered into a settlement agreement in August of 2023, just a few months ago, yet those issues persisted on Election Day on November 7th. If the county won't do its job in protecting the residents of Lower Saucon Township, I think Lower Saucon Township should at least try to do something to prevent voter disenfranchisement. I would like to immediately and prominently create on the township website a system where disenfranchised voters and those who witness problems can report what they experienced. And what I'm proposing is that we create something called the Lower Saucon Township Election Day Incident Report, where the incident reporter and location information can be provided: name, email address, phone number, location of the incident, the name, the precinct, the zip code, the type of the incident that occurred, the location, the voter ballot, voting machine irregularities, misinformation or lack information from the election staff, voter intimidation, problems with provisional ballots, instructions on completing ballots, and trusting election workers to manually change the ballots as they suggest and as we heard of today, instructions to return to the polling place later, and any other problems that may have occurred. I'd also like the questionnaire or the incident report to identify the location type, polling precinct, whether it was a mail-in, absentee, or provisional ballot processing site or anything else, the results that they received, whether they were permitted to vote despite the violation, prevented from voting despite meeting their criteria, or any violations that took place, the type of vote that they ultimately cast, whether it was, if they ultimately cast one regular or provisional, the type of violation where they were allowed to vote, the reason for not being allowed to vote, the names of any election officials to whom they communicated, and any evidence that they would have secured, such as witnesses, written documents, photographs, or anything else, and any other additional comments to that. I would also then like that the township manager share all those results with all council members before any of our December 2023 council meetings for possible further action by this council. I would also like the township manager to prominently place on the township website advertising for the election committee meeting that's taking place on November 21st, 2023. I believe it's at 3:00 p.m. at the Northampton County Government Center in Easton. In addition to that, I would also like the township solicitor to immediately write to Northampton County Executive, Northampton County Council, and Northampton County Elections Board about the problems that we heard about today and the problems that are going to be gathered through the website. And to request that Northampton County Elections Board consider these things when making their decision on certifying the election, so that they can factor in those pieces of information in their decision making. I think we owe this, and certainly Northampton County owes this in particular to our residents and our taxpayers to assure election integrity and proper processes now in the future. We have a presidential election coming up next year in 2024. It's obviously going to be a hotly contested election. All the pundits are saying that Northampton County, Pennsylvania certainly is a swing state, and Northampton County is an important part of Pennsylvania. So I would hope that we can resolve these issues, although the county and ES&S apparently sought to resolve those issues. It seems like they failed to do so. So again, this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue about disenfranchising voters, regardless of what party they were. So those are my thoughts on that topic. I don't know if anybody else has any comments.
Actually, I agree with you, Jason. Everyone in this room should be upset about what happened. It's not about winning, it's not about losing, it's not about any of that. It's about going to the polls and having confidence in that your vote counts, period. That's it. Doesn't matter who wins or who loses. So I agree with everything Jason's saying, and what we can do legally, I don't know, probably not much, but to have Lamont McClure just kind of blow it off, oh, laziness and someone made a mistake. That's not acceptable.
Just reading headlines.
Excuse me?
The other part of that, Mark, that I would add, if I could
Go ahead.
comment, is I have not heard about a single person that's been held accountable for this. And the buck stops with the county executive. And if the county executive isn't going to accept responsibility for it, then who is he going to lay blame on? I have not heard anybody accept responsibility for these issues that took place, and it's egregious.
Yeah,
It's
2
egregious
days. They have
because
2 days a year to get it right. 2 days.
And it happened before, and there was a settlement agreement that was reached, but yet, I don't know what the terms of the settlement agreement are, but I think it's fair to presume that there had to have been some guarantees that the problems that occurred in the past would not happen again in the future. And here we are, only a few months removed from that settlement agreement, and now we're dealing with these issues yet again. I would like nothing more than an election system and election machines that are reliable and trustworthy, and I think everybody who's involved in voting would want the same thing.
I agree, 100%. Everyone in this room should agree as well.
I'd like to say something.
Please.
I also feel, as a resident and a voter, I'm upset with what happened too. I could have gotten more votes, maybe.
Priscilla, really?
You know, but being serious, that I think that we're duplicating the efforts, that these complaints should go directly to the county. There shouldn't be, Mark has enough stuff to do. There should be something on the website and say, if you have any complaints, send them to the election board prior to that meeting on November 21st. And so be it. It would be like, oh, DEP, oh, I have an odor complaint. Oh, wait, we got to call the township, and the township has to deal with it, and then, oh, then maybe the DEP will. It's stupid. It's just creating more duplicity. No. Then first of all, it's the county's role, not the township's. So I just feel that if we're going to do anything, we should put something on the website and tell the residents, the voters, that you know, whatever your concerns were, write to the election board and let them know. And that way then they can resolve it. So we can't do anything, and, you know, I'm not into litigation, so.
All right. It's not like your idea. We should get a list of all our, basically constituents in the township that had a problem, and then submit that over. It's doing the same thing, except we're just taking the lead on it.
Personal.
I agree with you.
I agree.
What, Sandy? You said something, Sandy.
I just said I agree with what Mark said.
All right. I agree with what Mark, Sandy, and Jason are saying, and especially Jason's suggestions about the township website. You know, my problem.
It's not about changing, it's about integrity.
Right.
It's about integrity, not changing.
And this has happened before, and it doesn't seem like anybody's accountable. You know, the same people who are testing the machines last time, testing them this time, it's the same people at the county. And, I just don't think it's count. I think, you know, perhaps those people need to be removed. The elections, people responsible for testing the machines. They've failed twice now. So, you know, I mean, how many more times do you give them to fail before you just say, well, change needs to be made with the people that are testing the machines or the machines themselves? So, you know.
Well, and what I've been reading is that it had to do with 2 statewide judicial races. It really didn't have to do anything below that. So I feel that what are they calling themselves? The election board is in charge here, so.
I don't really care if it dealt with a dog catcher, election for dog catcher. What it dealt with was disenfranchising voters who have a right to go in and have assurances that their votes are being cast in the proper way and that they have access to the voting system and provisional ballots in a way that is trustworthy and reliable. That's what my view is.
And did you hear me disagree with that?
I didn't say you did.
Okay.
So we have a motion, and who seconded it?
I did.
So we have a vote.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Caroci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up we have discussion and possible action on St. Luke Health Network political activity involvement in municipal elections. I guess I'll start out with this one as well. So let me start out. Do you want to start, Tom?
Well, I mean,
There's no information in our packet. We have no idea what this
Let's
is.
discuss.
Then I'll read it, a letter or an email that St. Luke sent to.
Yeah, why don't you put that on the record, Tom?
It says, Dear St. Luke's patients living in the vicinity of Bethlehem landfill. This is an email sent from St. Luke's University Health Network on October 27th, Friday, October 27th. I received mine at 12:30 p.m. Dear St. Luke's patients living in the vicinity of Bethlehem landfill, you may have seen or heard recent news coverage noting that St. Luke's has opposed the proposed landfill expansion in Lower Saucon Township. We want to provide you with some background to help you better understand our concerns. As reported, Lower Saucon Township Council recently voted 3-2 to rezone 275 acres of woodlands to allow a landfill as a permitted use. Council also voted to lift conservation easements that have protected the woodlands and prohibited landfills on large portions of this property. Bethlehem Landfill Company, which is a subsidiary of a Texas-based Waste Connections Incorporated, has already filed for permits for the landfill expansion. The location of the proposed expansion is between Interstate 78 and Route 22 in the heart of the Lehigh Valley. When fully developed, the landfill would become a repository for garbage alongside the region's defining natural feature, the Lehigh River, forever blighting the historic Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor and other environmentally sensitive uses. This matter is particularly important to St. Luke's since the proposed expansion would be adjacent to our St. Luke's Anderson campus and their proposed expansion, whose unique bucolic settings include an organic farm, walking trails, and our signature sunflower fields, which they're be knocking down for buildings is, well, I'll talk about later in a meeting with St. Luke's. The Anderson campus was designed to maximize visibility of views of this area, which encompass one of the most significant undisturbed woodlands remaining along this section of Lehigh River. The proposed expansion would compromise the special healing environment that defines our Anderson campus. At St. Luke's, it's a special healing environment. At St. Luke's, we consider ourselves an important asset to our community and stewards, asset to the community, it doesn't pay taxes. At St. Luke's, we consider ourselves an important asset to our community and stewards of these natural resources. Our core mission includes protecting public health. We at St. Luke's also have a special relationship with the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor. And for the last 10 years, we've co-sponsored the Get Your Tail on the Trail program, comprised of 15,000 participants who regularly use the section of the trail adjacent to the proposed expanded landfill. Additionally, we co-sponsor the St. Luke's DNL Race Fest and Lehigh Valley Signature Running event that includes the region's only marathon, which relies on this section of the trail. Included below is a graphic illustrating the area of which the landfill is proposed. Sadly, the area in which the landfill is proposed dominates the view, looming over the campus and surrounding area, and would forever cause a blight on our community. Beyond the impact of the landfill on the view of the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridors, we at St. Luke's have discussed the extremely knowledgeable consultants, other potential impacts, including foul smells, impacts on water quality, blowing trash, attraction of large scavenger birds. St. Luke's has enthusiastically joined neighbors and local municipalities in pursuing a variety of legal challenges to defend our rights and those of the individuals in our community. If this matter causes concern for you, we encourage you to contact your political leaders on both the state and local levels and respectfully express your opinion. Many municipalities outside of Lower Saucon have previously joined St. Luke's and the neighboring residents in voicing objections to this expansion. Your voice is essential on this issue. Sincerely, Rick Anderson, President CEO, and ED Ed Naraki, President of the Anderson campus, I believe.
Tom, what was the date you received that?
So October 27th, 2023, so about 10 days prior to the election.
Okay. All right, let me start out by saying this first. I think we can all agree that St. Luke's Health Network is an asset to our community. It employs many of our residents and neighbors. It provides important health care to our residents. Probably everyone on this council at some point, and most of the people in this room have received health care there. Some type of health care, and countless family and friends have received health care there. We heard about some of the good care that was provided in helping Rob Albert earlier today, for example. But just because one provides good care doesn't mean that one is left without restrictions on how one conducts itself. I've received many reports from Lower Saucon Township residents concerned about this messaging that came from St. Luke's leadership, seemingly straying from its mission. The concerns that I received, well, first of all, I looked up what St. Luke's mission statement was. According to its website, its mission statement is to care for the sick and injured regardless of their ability to pay, to improve our community's overall health, and to educate our healthcare professionals. Care, overall health, educating healthcare professionals. That's it. And I don't mean to diminish what St. Luke's does, but it's very clear that St. Luke's business is the business of healthcare. Instead, however, messaging like this that came from St. Luke's leadership on St. Luke's letterhead, referencing their positions within the organization, seemingly engaged in unsolicited political messaging from and on behalf of St. Luke's Health Network or St. Luke's University Health System. I received reports that this message was sent to personal email addresses and or cell phone numbers of Lower Saucon Township residents. The communication was signed by the CEO, Richard Anderson, the CEO of St. Luke's, and Ed Naraki, the president of St. Luke's, both of whom presumably prepared and authorized this letter with their lawyers. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Anderson and saying hello to him on Election Day last week. But most of the complaints that I received expressed considerable concern and in some cases dismay that a 501c3 nonprofit like St. Luke's was engaging in political advocacy, virtue signaling that some described as arrogant and out of touch, and also elitist. And more importantly, there were concerns that were reference to me about privacy of individuals' personal and confidential information that was used to target them in this political messaging. These individuals provided their confidential information to St. Luke's in furtherance of medical care. I'm not aware of anybody who signed up for St. Luke's political messaging. They signed up for things related to medical care. And I looked at St. Luke's nonprofit status. I looked at their finances, and a lot of this information is available online. I found the following information, which I believe to be true. Maybe it's not, but this is what I found online. 2022 net assets of $1.12 billion, revenue of $2.97 billion, net income in 2022 of $195 million. Richard Anderson's compensation, $3.7 million. Ed Naraki's compensation, $1.015 million. 2021, net income of $197 million. Richard Anderson's compensation, $2.836 million. Ed Naraki's compensation, $847,000. I think that most people would consider that the sums that Mr. Anderson and Mr. Naraki are receiving to be considerable, especially for a nonprofit. I don't disparage them for what their earnings are. I'm sure that they work very hard for it. They're qualified people. But to provide clear context on what those individuals are earning, the two of them earned 2/3 of the total amount that Lower Saucon Township brings in taxable revenue every year. That's two individuals earning what 12,000 residents of this township pay in taxes. So I also looked at where St. Luke's is located. They have 12 hospital sites. They're all over the Lehigh Valley, the Poconos, the Cole region, Bucks County. They have numerous other medical and administrative facilities. They're covering literally hundreds, if not thousands of acres with all these properties that they have, and they built them. They built them and presumably disturbed trees and wildlife and all sorts of things. So I also point out, St. Luke's doesn't pay any real estate taxes in Lower Saucon Township. It relies, and Tom, you brought this up at a prior meeting, it relies upon Lower Saucon Fire Rescue to come over and assist over at the St. Luke's Fountain Hill campus. But yet, as I understand it, it doesn't pay anything towards Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. It makes no donations to it or anything else.
That's correct. They've had to respond over 80 times in the past 3 years to Fountain Hill.
I'm sorry, somebody interrupted, Tom. I didn't hear what you said.
So,
how many
right,
times?
our volunteer fire services had to respond over 80 times to Fountain Hill over the past 3 years, I believe it is.
Are you going to let me speak? Everything you said is gratuitous. If you want
Sir,
facts,
I don't know what you're doing. I haven't recognized you, and this is a conversation taken by council. There was a,
Sir,
nothing to do
there's an
with
agenda.
this issue.
87 times they've responded. St. Luke's has never made a donation to my knowledge.
Sir, I do ask that you stand down because you're blocking the view of people that are seated behind you. They probably want to see what we're talking about. So if you'd stand down, please. I haven't recognized you. I haven't recognized you. I'll say it a third time. I have not recognized
You're
you.
grandstanding, and you're making up facts,
All right,
and you
so
don't know the
I'm going to continue,
law.
sir, and if you're not going to stand down.
I will stand down.
Thank you.
I'm not going to make the cops. I said that before. I told Link before the meeting, but you still brought it.
Okay, thank you.
So again, 87 times they've responded. So our taxpayers are funding, fire services at Fountain Hill, St. Luke's campus. So not only do they don't pay property taxes, they just recently came before the County Revenue Appeals Board asking for an exemption on the property in Hellertown. I believe it's on Front Street. They had been paying taxes on it, but apparently they got into a dispute with the school board over athletic training services or something like that. So apparently, in spite, they filed to be exempt on that property. That they had been paying taxes on. So see, that's another thing. They are exempt from taxes, but they can still pay taxes if they choose. You don't have to avail yourself to the exemption. You can also make payments in lieu of taxes. A lot of people that have exemptions or organizations that have exemptions will make payments to school districts or municipalities in lieu of the property taxes that they're exempt from, so that can happen when they do.
He denies those tax exemptions and they get over.
Mr. Buba, I'm not telling you again. You have not been recognized, okay? You're interrupting the proceedings of this council meeting. If you cannot conduct yourself appropriately as a member of the bar and as a member of the public sitting here, okay? If you can't conduct yourself appropriately, please leave the room. You can write all the letters you want. You can do whatever you want, but we're going to conduct this meeting in an orderly fashion pursuant to our guidelines, okay?
So,
go ahead, Tom.
So they don't have to avail themselves to the tax exemption, but they do. Like you said, they made $192 million. And in very few of these places they have these campuses, do they pay any school taxes whatsoever? No, that is something that they're legally allowed to be exempt from. But again, they can make payments in lieu of taxes, or they don't have to avail themselves to the exemption. When you make $192 billion on 2.97 billion in revenue, maybe you should pay some school taxes, or maybe you should make a donation to our volunteer fire company that responds to the St. Luke's Fountain Hill campus over 80 times in the past 3 years. Maybe they should buy a new lining for the Fountain Hill pool. I don't know. Fountain Hill has financial problems because they don't pay property taxes. So I found the letter, Jason, I agree with you. I found it political, which tax-exempt organizations are not supposed to do. I gave them my email address so they could communicate to me regarding health concerns. I don't understand how it's not a HIPAA violation to use patients' emails. I mean, it says, "Dear St. Luke's patients." They know exactly who they're emailing. And in the vicinity of Bethlehem landfill. The subject matter is important message regarding the Bethlehem landfill. I think all of our residents that receive these emails should be somewhat outraged. And I'm up for recommending this, referring it either to the Internal Revenue Service or the government, because you should have a tax-exempt organization shouldn't be allowed to do this.
All right, Tom. So I'm concerned.
If I may?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
My biggest issue with all of this is our patient portals. There again, everyone in this room should be bothered by the fact that your patient portal was used to send a message. Whether you like the message or you don't like the message, that's a moot point.
Well, how did we get to talk then?
Excuse me?
Well, how did we get to talk then when this guy cuts us
Mr. Optoff.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that.
Hold on, Mark. Mr. Optoff.
I'm just
you had
making
an
my
opportunity
opinion.
to speak. Go ahead, Mark.
There again, it's the patient portal side of this that bothers me more than anything. My daughter got one out at school. She calls me up, "Dad, what's this?" I just think it's wrong and it feels wrong. And I think everyone in this room should think it feels wrong as well.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Well, I asked Mr. Buba, how much?
Folks, hold on. Folks, we're not doing this. We're not going back and forth and yelling from over on that side, okay? You already had your opportunity. Sir, step out. You had your opportunity to speak on agenda items, okay? This is the opportunity for council to speak. All right? Go ahead.
I asked Mr. Buba a simple question. Did you review this statement or did Mr. Anderson write it himself?
Client.
It's a simple question, Mr. Buba. I recognize you to speak.
Oh, no, he's not.
I recognize him to speak about this question.
You're not allowed to. You don't have Jason's.
All right, so
He only wants to speak if he has something to say.
A lot of stuff on the agenda that we're gonna be here until
Wait, we're not
Friday
done with
morning.
it. I didn't even go
If we
yet.
don't keep going. I know. I'm just saying that the back and forth is not helping.
So, I don't know what we can do. However,
I have a
I would just
suggestion.
like to recognize the fact that it doesn't feel right. Whatever that is, I don't know legally what we can and can't do. That's all I'm saying.
So, back to my point, what I was making, I'm concerned too about a nonprofit that makes over $1 billion, that's worth over $1 billion involving itself in politics, especially here in our township. I think that's totally inappropriate. It employs our neighbors. We rely upon it for health care, but it pays no taxes to us. It uses our services, and I'm concerned that they're using patient data in furtherance of their political activities or their leadership's political activities. And I'm even more concerned about the lack of apparent oversight by the St. Luke's board of this institution over its leadership. I think the board should be holding those members accountable and to make sure that they're acting in compliance with the laws and not going beyond the bounds of what their mission statement is, which is healthcare. It doesn't pretend to have good healthcare in the future. So what I would suggest here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a motion to directing our solicitor to immediately write to the St. Luke's Board of Governors, each and every one of them, including Michael Drabenstadt, who's the chairman, Val Lewis, who's the vice chairwoman, to express the concerns of Lower Saucon Township that we discussed today, as well as what we heard from the public. I want answers to whether they were aware about Mr. Anderson's and Mr. Naraki's activities related to the letter and the recipients that it went to. I'd also like to know if they approved, if the board approved the contents of the letter and the basis for their approval. I'd also like an explanation for how they reconciled St. Luke's nonprofit status with the political communication and any duties that they had to maintain patient information confidentiality related to healthcare and not politics. If they weren't aware, I'd like to know what they're going to do to rectify the situation. I'm hoping that they'll hold those accountable that are responsible for it and to assure that these things don't happen again in the future. And I would like a response to that letter. So I want a specific response to that letter within 14 days. And if they don't respond within 14 days, then Tom, perhaps what we do is we consider what you're suggesting, which is reporting it to other authorities for possible violations of their tax status. That's my thought, and I'll make a motion to do that. And Priscilla, I know you want to talk about this, so please go ahead.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I appreciate this. Well, when I saw on the agenda political activity and involvement in a municipal election, my thoughts went right to a letter that I received from a certain company called, I won't say it because you all know it. Dear members, although I typically like to remain out of politics, I find it necessary to write this letter. Steel Club is a great community asset, and I view our members as my friends and extended family.
What does this have to do with the St. Luke's?
I'm speaking.
I'm asking what it has to do with St.
If you don't like
Luke's.
my comments, don't listen to them.
I'm asking you what it has to do with the agenda item. I'm asking you what it has
Because
to do with
it
the agenda
says here,
item.
political activity and involvement in a municipal election.
Is
So
Steel
just-
Club a nonprofit?
I have no
that took
idea.
patient medical
I
information?
have the floor right now.
They pay property tax.
I have the floor. To view our members as my friends and extended family, thanks to the unwavering support of our members, we have been able to consistently employ 200+ staff and have paid approximately $1 million in local property taxes, plus sales, payroll, income taxes, and including through the pandemic. One of the things that I have been most heartened by is not only the tremendous support of the membership, but also the unanimous and bipartisan support from our elected officials, most notably Sandra Yerger and Priscilla DeLeon, two of the longest serving members on the Lower Saucon Township Council. They have consistently and numerously voted their support of the club. Most recently, for reasons I do not fully know, Ms. DeLeon voted against our latest plans for the last phase of the homes before the Township Council. This plan has not changed in the last 8 years since it was first conceived, and I unanimously approve since it was first conceived and unanimously approved. Given her disappointing vote, I am concerned. Assuming you love Steel Club as much as I do, and even though I have supported Priscilla in the past, if you live in Lower Saucon Township, I appeal to you on Tuesday to vote for Susan Blair, as well as incumbents Mark Ingalls and Sandy Yerger for Township Council. Sincerely, David Spurk. And let me just show you what happened to the numbers.
What's that having to do with St. Luke's?
It's the agenda. Well, nobody put anything in the agenda packet. This is no disrespect to Mark, but you tell him to put an agenda item on the agenda.
What does this have to do with St. Luke's?
You fail to provide supporting information for the residents to speak under their 3 minutes before the meeting, and for another council member to know where you're going on this.
Did you receive the letter from St. Luke's?
I did.
Okay, then you know what it was about.
I knew about the letter, but like I said, my comment was what I just read, and that will be on the record.
Okay. All right, so any other comments from council? No? All right, we have a motion and a second. Mark, call the roll, please. Go ahead.
Ready.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
yes,
Motion passes.
All right. All right, next up is discussion and possible action on the joint comprehensive plan. So I came across a provision of the municipal planning code. This is section, 53 PS 11105B1. And what that provision provides is that this is under the intergovernmental cooperative planning and implementation agreements. It says, quote, participating municipalities that have entered into implementation agreements to carry out a county or multi-municipal plan as described in this article shall have the following additional powers. Number one, to provide by cooperative agreement for the sharing of tax revenues and fees by municipalities within the region of the plan. So we were all on council, Mark, you may not have been, when we entered into a joint comprehensive plan with the borough of Hellertown. At the time I entered into that agreement and voted in favor of that agreement, I was not aware of this provision of the municipal planning code. And the effect of this provision of the municipal planning code is that essentially Lower Saucon Township tax dollars can be given away to a municipality that is part of a cooperative agreement. So I think that's wholly inappropriate. We are stewards of Lower Saucon Township tax dollars. We are not stewards of Lower Saucon Township tax dollars to give them away to somebody else or to another municipality. So I believe that it's inappropriate for us to remain in a joint comprehensive plan with a municipality when there is the risk of shifting Lower Saucon Township residents and taxpayers' money to another municipality. There was nothing provided in the joint comprehensive plan that addressed that issue, and leaving that issue open-ended leaves open the risk that Lower Saucon tax dollars could be given away. I think Lower Saucon Township tax dollars should stay in Lower Saucon Township to support the community and its residents. And in light of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion to immediately remove Lower Saucon Township from the joint comprehensive plan and to adopt an individual comprehensive plan consistent with the terms of the joint comprehensive plan, but only as they apply to Lower Saucon Township.
I'll second that. I think, again, Lower Saucon taxpayer dollars should stay in Lower Saucon Township.
Link, is there anything that we need to consider with regard to that?
Well, I think the joint comprehensive plan is, it's a document, it's a couple-inch thick document, and it refers to, if I remember correctly, it refers to Hellertown throughout the document. So in order to do a comprehensive plan solely for Lower Saucon Township, someone's going to have to basically redo the comp plan.
Yeah, like $20,000 or $30,000.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily that much. It's a question of whether you look into the engineer doing it, whether we get a consultant to do it, I don't think we have the comp plan in a Word document, so I don't think we can do it ourselves. So the issue's gonna be, how much is it gonna cost to do, and how long will it take? I mean,
Well, I don't have a problem spending $20,000 or $30,000 if it prevents the transfer of Lower Saucon Township tax dollars. Our job is to protect Lower Saucon Township taxpayers. And in this case, they're left unprotected, so.
Well, you can't, what you're talking about, you're 100% correct. What you're talking about is a potential possibility.
Right.
But it doesn't happen unless there's a joint zoning ordinance and an implementation agreement, neither of which exist. So.
Kathy, how many times have we spent this money? Never, right?
Excuse me?
How many times have we spent that money? Never. We never did that. You never expended township tax dollars to do what he said.
What, do a new comp plan?
No. Whatever, like I said, this is the only paper I have on this agenda item. He's talking about stuff I don't have in front of me. So whatever citing he was citing from, I don't know. You know, it would be nice to share things.
Kathy, every time we do a comprehensive plan, every 10 years, we spend money on it, right?
The last couple of times we've done it in the last two 10-year cycles, we did it jointly, and both Hellertown and Lower Saucon put money into the fund to pay for the services of the
All right, so I'll amend my motion, and I will make a motion to direct the township solicitor and manager to immediately remove Lower Saucon Township from the joint comprehensive plan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Engels?
No, none of that.
Ms. Yerger?
No.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Okay. All right, next up we have discussion and possible action on the remaining improvements for the Easton Road Ballfield. Can you give us an update on where things stand, Mark?
Yes, Ballfield construction has begun. They've been working on the infiltration bed, which will go under the parking lot area. So if you've driven by on Easton Road, there's a big hole, and that's where the infiltration bed will be going. The parking lot will go on top of that. They've been removing the dirt from the upper field and moving it to the lower, or which will be the one field now, to level the whole site area. And they continue to do that. Things have been going very well. Been in contact with the neighbors once or twice. So Brian may want to add.
No, that's a good representation.
All right, so when we first looked at the Eastern Road Ballfield, we looked at breaking it down into multiple parts. Included among the remaining parts are the lights, the dugouts, bleachers, press box facility, and scoreboard. And we did receive bids for those remaining parts. As I understand, the bid that we received for the lighting, the low bidder on that project was the contractor who we approved to reconstruct the field, correct?
Yes.
All right. That bid is still valid, correct?
That would be a link.
I think it's only valid if we get a written extension from that contractor agreeing to extend the bid, the time for awarding the bid at that same price.
All right. Have you had any communications, Mark, with whether or not the contractor would agree to extend the bid for the lights?
Brian has been in contact with the contractor.
Ryan?
I have discussed with the contractor, as you know, that the council did not award the alternate, so the contractor and I have had discussions on the adjustments to the main contract as a result of that, to make sure they're clear with not doing the alternate. So they had to hold their prices for 60 days. The bids came in on August 8th, so that put it about October 8th, maybe, that went out. He and I have had general discussions about, you know, maybe one day the township will want to do it. They didn't object to that, but we'd have to ask them.
All right. I'm going to make a motion to direct the township engineer, solicitor, and/or manager to immediately contact the contractor to see if they will extend the bid, and if they will extend the bid, to execute the documents that are necessary for the bids to happen.
For which particular alternates? There were alternates.
Just for the lights.
Just for the lights?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
May I say something?
You may.
Well, first of all, I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people campaigning since phase one was passed to my no vote. Most were shocked at the price and the need for a major league complex this size on a postage stamp or a field of dreams, as one resident said. There's no cost-benefit analysis, no studies on maintenance fees, no studies, period. is there gonna be a fee? How are we gonna pay to fix all this stuff in 5 years, 10 years, and, you know, all that stuff? This is not spending taxpayer monies prudently. I heard that many that participated in all baseball programs that were available in Hellertown, Lower Saucon as a youth, and then went on to coach these teams as an adult from Little League, senior Little League to Legion Baseball. I am objecting to the youth sports and the need for the community support. The idea of a top-shelved baseball field for use and the cost of millions to taxpayers is insane, as one resident stated. This is a mixture of my comments and what residents said to me. This project is unlike other recreational projects that Lower Saucon has begun, and that is the pickleball courts. That project is a winner because it crosses many demographics. It can be used by youths, teenagers, adults, seniors, males, and females. It is an example of how taxpayer money is spent wisely. The Easton Road Ballfield is an excellent example of a special interest project. It only benefits boys that have interest in baseball from the ages of 13 through 18. It is a very limited group. In a stretch, it could be around 200 boys from Hellertown and Lower Saucon using the field in a summer season. One can do a simple cost-benefit analysis and come to the conclusion that this is a poor taxpayer investment and it has huge price tag that will only benefit a few, and it should be sized down. It is certainly too late now to pull the plug of the project, but what can be done is to limit additional spending. This field would greatly overshadow the Saucon Valley High School varsity baseball field because of its many amenities. What amenities does this field have that the high school does not? And what is the price tag to payers? We have a chart here that shows that. What about future maintenance, which I mentioned earlier? Are there any facilities for girls? Is there facilities for girls to use this also? I'm asking a question. I'm hearing none, so I bet that's a no, unless somebody can tell me differently.
It is not a softball field. It is a baseball field, so some girls do play baseball, but.
Okay, I never played sports, so anyway. But it's a concern because, you know, do we have the facilities for if girls want to use it? Are there privacy for them? I don't know. Field lighting at a cost of $350,000. I'm hoping that the lights, the people that live near this field realize that there's going to be lights there and they might be impacted with this. I don't know if the lighting has to meet our regulations, because when Easton Road on the city side was developed, City of Bethlehem, they allowed these big lights on the corner of Cherry Lane and Easton Road, and the lights were just shining in residents' their windows and on their property. So we changed our ordinance to like shield it, right, Brian? We did some kind of shielding with our light ordinance.
I don't think we did that as a result of that,
Well,
because the complaints are related to what was in the city, but the Lower Saucon has mainly height standard.
Right, like no light's supposed to go off the property.
Right.
Well, we'll see. The press box is $300,000. Bleacher structures above dugouts at a cost of $178,000. Note, the high school field has only 4 to 5 row bleachers on both sides of the field, each costing about $15,000 or so new. And then the tunnel batting cages at a cost of $78,000. The sod, was that what we put in the other bid? Okay. And finally, let's see, because of the way the field was designed, it's only a few feet away from abutting properties. And is that why the tension netting system, which I have no idea, but I know that's in here somewhere, was redesigned? And okay, because it appears that it might not keep foul balls off of neighboring properties and maybe even off ice on Route 30, on Route, I want to say 378, Route 78, sorry. And let's see, so all these budding property owners, I haven't heard from one. So I don't even know if they're aware that this is happening. So I enjoy baseball, but I would not want to play it in my backyard all summer and into the fall. Lighting is certainly not fair for those adjoining property owners. At this point, what can be done to limit additional spending? That's another question in case you didn't know. and I hear crickets.
Well, I will say that the immediate property owners are the church and the cemetery.
No,
And the park, a little bit of a park behind it. So I'm not overly concerned with that.
So out of all these items, you picked the lighting.
Well, I'm just saying, you mentioned that it was going to bother neighbors, and I said I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know how we got to this point.
So I made a motion, I believe, to direct the township manager, engineer, and solicitor to immediately contact the current contractor who's doing the work to see if they will still honor the bid that we had received, and if so, to immediately execute the documents for the bids for the lights.
I'll second that.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, I'm going to make another motion to direct the township manager, staff, and engineer to immediately prepare and submit bid request documents for the remaining improvements to the Eastern Road Ballfield, to include the dugouts, the bleachers, the press box, and facility, scoreboard, and batting cages, and to have those bids available for potential action at a council meeting to occur on or after December 20, 2023.
What was that date again?
December 20, 2023.
I knew you guys were going to pull another meeting.
I'll second.
Okay.
Happy holiday.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Motion passes.
Before we move on, Brian, do you foresee any problems getting those bid requests out? I think you've already done them previously with the prior bids that went out in the summertime, right?
If I understand it, you would like to consider them at a December 20th council meeting, is that correct?
No, I want the bids to go out immediately, and I want the bids to have been received by December 20th, 2023.
Received by
Yes.
December 20th, okay.
But we have no council meeting scheduled.
I'm still talking.
I still have to, the bids and drawings were designed to go out with the main contract with alternates. Now the alternates are gonna be the main bid, so it can't go out tomorrow. There's still some work that has to be done to make it clear that now those 4 alternates are what we're bidding.
Correct.
Okay.
So when the bids go out, they have 30 days to respond, correct, Brian?
Well, we can give them however many days we give them. I mean, we could give them 2 days if
No requirement.
All right, then let's give them 20 days to respond.
Okay, you want them received on December 20th?
Within 20 days of them going out, and I want you to get them out hopefully by the end of this week if you can. Is that feasible?
What's today,
Wednesday.
Well, we'd have to have them out by December 1st to give them 20 days,
Give 'em 20
if
days.
that's what you want to
Don't
do.
they have to be received to be put on the agenda?
We can receive them. Yeah, if Brian gets them out, what are we now? 15th? Yeah, I mean, if you get them out by next week sometime, that's plenty of time.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we can't get them out this week yet.
All right, let's get them out before Thanksgiving, and then we can get the bids back and take action if we choose.
I will try my best.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Can I just clarify, the first motion was basically to award to the low bidder the lighting, the contract for the lighting, provided they agree in writing to the extension of the price?
Right.
Okay.
And if they don't, I'll make a third motion. If the low bidder for the lighting will not agree to the price, then also include in the bids that are going out next week, the lighting is another component to that. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mark second.
Any comments on it? Okay, Mark, call the roll on it, please.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, next up, authorization to purchase backhoe, paver, and 2 patrol units. Mark?
Township staff is seeking permission to order a Case 590 backhoe. The paver, do the paving of the roads. The paver is well past its due date to be replaced. Again, these 2 items, this is for 24 and 25. Due to the long lead times that we're seeing, we're concerned that if we do not get an order in soon, especially with the paver, we may not get that till 2026. So we're trying to work with the current supply shortages to try to get things as quickly as possible, knowing that in 2025 we will not be requesting anything for the public works unless there's an emergency of some sort. Apologize, I did not have my. And then we were also looking to purchase 2 Chevy Tahoes for the police department. Again, with the supply issues that we're having and the striking that just happened with the vehicle manufacturers, we'd like to get our order in as early as possible, and we do not have a estimated due date on these items. The backhoe and the paver, we're expecting 6 to 12 months if things go very well. The Tahoes at this time, we don't have an estimated due date.
How many pavers do we have in the township currently?
1.
Is it workable? Is it works?
It is on its last leg. It's been a lot of time in the shop this year.
Okay.
Any comments from council? All right, I'll make a motion to authorize the purchase of the backhoe at the cost of $182,655, paver at $521,046, and 2 patrol units, each at $56,287.
I'll second that.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Caroci?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Ms. Durangles?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have authorizing staff to prepare and advertise a bid for a 2024 paving project. The roads to be included would be Frederick Street, Yost Avenue, Pleasant Drive, Merrick Circle, Cross Lane, Hilltop Road, Rambling Rose Court, Dickinson Lane, and Peachtree Lane. Mark?
This is the areas that were identified to be paved in 2024 if we use a contractor. The township engineer would have to prepare the paving specs and prepare the bid documents to go out for a paving of in the summer of 2024.
Now, these were identified by you and Roger, right?
By Roger, yep.
By Roger.
Yep.
As needed.
Yep.
We do have a list with all the roads on, right?
I just read it.
We used to have a list with all the roads on.
Yeah.
That when they were supposed to be
Yep.
done.
Yep.
One of the residents said that some of these roads aren't in that bad of a condition.
I'm sure she was an expert.
It's maintenance.
I'm sure she was an expert, more expertise than Roger.
You don't have any much more, so.
That's right. That's why I take what Roger says.
Well,
I
maybe
didn't
if
say
Roger
that.
was asked to come up with streets because he'd just, yeah, right. I know this, I know the drill. I know how that works.
Just to be clear, when we do these paving projects, we did one in Saucon Terrace last year. We paved all of Priscilla's community in Steel City.
Yes, Priscilla's community.
Just for Priscilla.
Steel City.
I'm
They
not-
did a horrible job.
Are you done interrupting me?
Yeah, no,
Okay. No, you're not. Let me know when you're done.
go ahead.
Okay. So the effect of that is that the paving activities of Public Works are actually allowed to proceed in other areas of the township. So we end up, how many miles do we pave every year, Brian? Roughly 6 or 7?
I think Roger sets that, rings a bell. in
Yeah.
that area.
So, I mean, I think this is money well spent because it actually frees up Public Works to do paving in other areas that otherwise would be delayed. So we're, by doing this, 2 years and now a third time, we've actually accelerated the paving schedule so that the roads in the community are improved.
We've
That
set
makes
$7
sense.
million in the bank. The road should be good, and it allows them to free up time to do the bridge, which they're working on now, which I believe, hopefully we're gonna have some pictures of later. Frees them up to do bridge work and other stuff.
I think there's a misnomer out there that Public Works can do a lot of work. There's a lot of everyday maintenance that Public Works does every single day that people don't realize. We would need a much bigger staff to accomplish this kind of work on their own. They just can't do that much. It's impossible. So I don't think it's a bad idea to get some of the big ones out of the way, and I'd much rather spend our township money on this than cutting taxes. I think it goes better for the township.
So we have a motion?
You wanna make the motion?
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Who made it?
No, I'll make it, I'll make the motion,
Yeah.
For this work that Roger identified to be put out to bid. Immediately, and you have to get on these, paver schedule for the summer. You have to start doing that now. So
It takes time.
It takes time, that's what I'm
It
saying.
takes a lot of time.
Right, so if you want it paved in the summer, you gotta put it out now.
And I'd
How's the
rather get the big
countdown
ones out of the
going?
way and then let them, play with the small ones themselves, like up around
Yeah,
Dartford and Miss Witcham's neighborhood, where they did those. That's more manageable for our township staff to do, not these large neighborhoods.
Right.
It's a lot of work, and we can't do it. I can promise you, you cannot pave Cherrywood or Saucon Terrace or Steel City with Public Works. You can't do it.
Well, let's put it to you this way, if the people that did Steel City bids on this job, it will be an immediate no for me. So just
Fair enough.
telling you out there because it really was bad.
Well, I think Saucon Terrace got some pretty good reviews, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Maybe they did, it was a different contractor.
Right.
Right.
I heard from a lot of people that were happy with Steel City, so.
And
guess
I heard
it's-
from a lot of people they weren't.
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay.
people have different things.
Gift horse in the mouth. Go ahead.
So I'll make the motion.
What's that?
I
I think Mark seconded. You seconded, right, Mark?
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
No,
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes,
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have review and consideration of Resolution 67-2023, City of Bethlehem Act 537 Special Study. Mark?
Yes, the Bethlehem City Wastewater Treatment Plant is adding a new process to their treatment system, the Chemically Enhanced Primary Treatment System, CEPT. So this is just part of the plant process to clean the waste before it is released back into the waterways of the Commonwealth. So it was reviewed by the Planning Commission. They had no comments, and it is here for the township township council to authorize the resolution approving the Bethlehem Act 537 plan.
Mark, do we know if this is going to address the issue that we identified, which is that every time there's a 2-inch rain event, that the sewage plant is discharging raw sewage into the Lehigh River?
No, this has nothing to do with that.
Okay. I think it should, but, all right. Any questions from council?
I think it's just making it better, right?
It's making the treatment process better.
The treatment's process better. That sounds good.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
yes,
Mr. Engels, how do you vote? Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have review of the Bethlehem Township Comprehensive Plan, Update and Active Transportation Plan. Mark?
Hold on, sorry. Lost it. Yeah, so the township received the Bethlehem Township's Active Transportation Plan, update to their comprehensive plan that was forwarded to council for review. They're looking to see if you have any comments before they move to their adoption phase.
I looked through this and I found a number of instances where they're proposing building trails, cutting down trees, paving roads and walkways and trails and things like that, which is surprising to me considering the comments that we received from Bethlehem Township on our side of the river. Just stood out to me as being somewhat disingenuous.
Yeah, I guess it's all right for them to cut down trees.
Any other comments from council? Do you need a motion?
No, just.
You don't have any comments, we don't need any.
No, I made my comments.
Comments.
All right, next, consideration Saucon Creek Watershed Association donation request. Township received a request for donation from the Saucon Creek Watershed Association. Mark?
Yeah, the township received a request from the Saucon Creek Watershed Association for a donation. Last year, we gave them a donation of $500 for the artwork map that was given to the township and is hanging in the lobby. So this is in front of council for your review and consideration.
Do they need it for any special project?
It says the association has done stream bank improvements, water quality testing, road and stream litter cleanups, invasive plant removal, and other environmental projects throughout the watershed.
No, I just thought maybe there was something special that they were looking for a donation for.
Is there somebody here from Watershed? Is someone here from the Watershed Association? No. Oh.
So Sandy, at this time, we don't have any defined projects, but part of what we're doing is building back up the association. And we have many projects. We did the Sportsman down on Eastern Road. We planted a ton of trees to stabilize their bank. So it's just part of building the organization and being an active participant with the township. We also have the garden out here that we are maintaining. It did go in disarray during COVID, and we've been working on that and getting that back in shape.
Okay, I just thought maybe there was something special you wanted funded.
No, it's just an annual ask, and we did all the
Okay.
townships that we support through Saucon Creek.
Any questions from council?
What did Hellertown do?
I'll make a motion to
What
give
the hell-
$500.
What did Hellertown do?
Priscilla, I'll second that. I don't care what Hellertown did.
All right.
I think it's a good thing.
$500?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up we have authorization for the donation of unclaimed bicycles from the police department to Community Bike Works. Before us is a request to approve disposing 10 unclaimed bikes that were either found or turned into the police department. Mark, do you want to comment on this at all?
That's pretty much a summary, trying to clear up some space in the evidence room. They've met the requirements for the police to hold on to them, so we are allowed to dispose of them, and they will be disposed to a good cause. They won't be thrown out.
Oh, good, okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the donation of the unclaimed 10 bicycles from the police department to Community Bike Works.
Second?
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ingles?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up we have replacing the parking lot wood steps with concrete. Mark?
Yeah, the parking lot steps out front here, if you've tried to walk up them, they're getting to be a little rickety. They've been in for quite a long time, so we went out to receive quotes to get these replaced. We did get 2 quotes. This is by far the cheapest, and we've been unable to get a third. So looking to do Silvestri Brothers Concrete for $4,933 to replace the 4x4 concrete steps that bring you up the levels of the parking lots, with concrete.
And Public Works can't do this?
No,
Okay.
Is there a requirement to have those steps there?
No, I think they were
ADA
added
standpoint?
by the Public Works Department once the building was created, for movement of residents through the parking lot. We have a lot of seniors that park, in the left part of the lot and walk into the senior center when it's full, so those steps are pretty, be nice to have a nicer set of steps for them.
I'll make a motion to award the bid to Silvestri Brothers Concrete for $4,933 to replace the parking lot wood steps with concrete.
I'll second that. That's not a bad price.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have approval of the October 4, 2023 council minutes. We have the minutes in the packet. Are there any questions or comments from council? All right, having heard none, I will make a motion to approve the October 4, 2023 council minutes.
Hold on one second. It was either in, was it Kathy, when you, I wanted to highlight it. When you gave a budget update, you said $22,000 was in that the request to end the lawsuits with Hellertown. It was $122,000, right? Not $22,000. You gave money for the first year for the library that was sent to Hellertown?
Are you referencing a page or a line number in here? What are you referring to?
No, I wanted to mark it and go back and do it, and I didn't. I'm sorry. So.
You want to table the minutes until you, and do it next meeting?
Oh,
Sure.
yes. And Kathy, you tell me whether that was correct or not.
I'm looking through them right now.
No.
You just table them.
I'm sorry. All right, and then when I find it, I'll let you know too. Okay, so we'll table it then.
Table that.
But
I'll
there's,
table all the minutes if you want more time.
I don't remember, well, the budget was October 4th though, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't on the 18th, so it had to be the October 4th. So I'll make a motion to approve October 18th.
I'll second.
Mark?
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
All right, before us, we have the October 2023 financial reports. Kathy, anything to add? All right, I will make a motion. Anything from council? I will make a motion to approve the October 2023 financial reports.
I'll second.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, council and staff reports. Township Manager Mark Hudson, any report?
The Heller Homestead project is moving along. If you've been driving by there, you'll see that the windows in the widow's house some of them have been removed, some of the wood's been removed. They are working on that. The Black River Road project is well underway. This is Black River Road. The orange barricades that you see are where the road surface is, and the stone that you see on the bottom is Public Works preparing footers for which the new culvert will sit on. The skid steer on the right is bringing the stone down once they dump it in. It is quite a hole. If you're up there, it is a big hole. But the guys are doing great, and we should be we're hoping to finish with the stone tomorrow. And the contractor Vince is, I forget the company's name, is scheduled to come in on Friday and start putting the footers in.
I think that's moved in November 28th.
Okay. All right. Just some reminders, we will do the Christmas tree collection in January at the Yard Waste Center. We have gotten several requests from residents, both at the Yard Waste Center and through emails. The Yard Waste Center is supposed to close on this Saturday. They've requested that we keep it open until December 9th. Roger and I have spoken. We're suggesting that we just open on Saturdays for the next 3 weeks after the 18th, if everyone's okay with that.
Yep.
All right. I get to do it again once a year now. I get to say Squishmallows in a public meeting. So the Squishmallows, Emily's Hug Me Drive, we are collecting those here at the Township Building until December 15th. A Squishmallow is a squishy stuffed animal that kids seem to love. Light Up Night is on November 24th. As you can see, I'm growing a beard, which I only do for the month of November this year, to support our police officers in the No Shave November. I will not be doing Double Down December this year because it's not sitting too good. And we are also, the police are collecting Toys for Tots. So those bins just went out today, and they are 10th? December 20th, sorry. We will have those bins in the lobby of here and the police station until December 20th. And the water. So options to give for the Christmas season, if anyone is, and that's all I have.
Great, thanks, Mark. Mark, any update on the Heller Homestead barn? I know that you guys and Roger were talking about that. I know that the site was cleaned up, the fence is still up. Any progress on that?
I think the Historical Society that is out of there is looking into working with a mason to do some work to hopefully secure the wall. Yeah. I haven't heard anything for a little bit, though.
Could you follow up with them to find out where it stands?
Yep.
All right, anything else, Mark?
That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. All right, council reports, junior council. I don't see anybody in junior council. So, council, Mark.
Thanks.
All right, I have nothing.
Nothing.
Sandy, do you have anything?
No.
All right, Priscilla?
Nothing.
Tom?
Yeah, the planning commission approved the landfill land use plan 5-0 in this last meeting in October. That's it.
All right, thanks. Link, any solicitor report?
I don't have anything tonight.
Brian, any engineer report? Okay. We're up to public comment, non-agenda items, residents, taxpayers only, 3-minute time limit. And first on the list is Monica Willard. Okay, next on the list is David Willard.
I'm just asking for a point of clarification at this stage with the failure to receive motions and take any action on items 5A, B, and C, including final approval of the advertised budget. What are the next steps and actions to be taken on those 3 agenda items?
We have a meeting December 6th, right?
Yes.
In a motion tonight to get it taken care of, since it appeared on the agenda, has been advertised. Motion to change
I tried during the agenda item and no one seemed to bite, so.
The president has left, but my comment is he moved pretty quickly without waiting for a motion. And I'll tell him when I see him.
Next up, Victoria O.C. I pass. Okay, next up, Bill Spawn. Next up, Lenore Spawn. Next up, David Boulan.
Dave Boulan, 2023 Alice. I was at a landfill meeting, the last one. I think the next one's maybe tomorrow. I had some comments on it. I think it bears that everybody listen because you may be on the other end of this stick at some time. Although I have a page of things, it's just one. Lack of civility. And what this means is during that committee meeting, there were roughly 3 of us in the audience that had questions about those at the table, which were engineers, et cetera. And I think Jason ran the meeting. And the bottom line, it was a really good meeting. A lot of questions answered. As a matter of fact, the speaker before me talked for over 15 minutes. There's no time limit, over 15 minutes. So the remaining two of us sat there and listened. And the bottom line is, it was announced for the next, she sat down and then was asked for the next speaker, and my name was given, and I got up from that chair to here, actually. And the bottom line is, before I got to the podium, this person jumped up and said something about wanting to defend her integrity, her honor. I don't remember exactly what it was. I was absolutely blown away because it was my turn to speak after listening quietly, patiently, without heckling, without jeering, without all the stuff that I get, that she should do this. And so, as I'm standing in front of the podium asking for her to please sit, that she's had her allocated time and a lot more graciously given, I got a lot of flack in my face, and the answer was no. Well, I kept prodding her to sit down and take it easy. She'd had her time and all that. Well, the bottom line is, as I'm standing there, going behind me, is this discussion, and I hear meeting adjourned. All right? So to me, although I'm a really nasty character, I give other people the right to talk, and when they don't give me the right to talk, I object. And the bottom line is, I get shut down, and I don't get to speak. And it's becoming too prevalent. And the only thing I can say is, I hope when she sits in this council chair as a council person and me as a taxpayer, she's not gonna tell me to go pound sand, because that's what I'm sort of looking for. And it's just about civility. 8, 7, where's Mark?
Mr. Belan, just point of clarification, Mr. Belan. I had to step out to go to the men's room. Are you referring to the last landfill committee meeting when there was some unruly behavior and I had to adjourn the meeting because it was getting out of control and people were not conducting themselves civilly, and it suggested that there may be some sort of physical contact or confrontation?
That would be correct, but I will tell you, and I just had one out in the hall. Somebody came up to me and was really, really nasty. I'm 81 years old, you know? I can't handle myself anymore, and I don't kid myself. Verbally, yes, I'll debate it with you if you want to look me in the eye and do that. But at that point, no. Getting screamed at in my face, leaning over, doing those kinds of things, I just don't back down on that. I mean, that's it, unless asked to by the chairman.
Yeah, well, I ran that meeting, and I regret the need to have to shut down that meeting because I think residents should have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. And I also think that people should be given the opportunity to be heard without being heckled and to be respectful to one another. And I regret that I had to prevent you from speaking during that meeting, but it was not because I did not want to hear from you. It was because of the circumstances that were taking place during that meeting that suggested to me that things were getting out of hand. And there was not a police presence that was there at that meeting. I didn't like the direction that it seemed to be going. So that was my judgment. And I hope that you'll continue to participate.
Sir, I want to say to you, it had nothing to do with you per se. You and Mark were there. You both heard what was going on. Actually, if I was sitting there and could have made the same ruling, I would have done the same thing given the situation. I'm not holding you. I am holding somebody that supposedly is a bar member, represents the court, should be civil. If you did that in an open court, you wouldn't practice long. I think you know that. All right, so that's my comment.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope people appreciate it.
All right, next is Robert Blasco. Robert Blasco. Okay. And next we have Marco Zimic.
This has nothing to do with the council. but it has to do with the Lower Saucon residents. Because the Lower Saucon residents deserve to know that I did not threaten Jason Bananas. What Jason Bananas did was take words, manipulate them, and take them to the chief of police with John Blair. In essence, what they did was they created a lie to convict somebody, which is a third-degree felony. Now I just got to find the right lawyer to help me back it up. And I believe the chief of police also knows it, because we had multiple conversations that day about it. As far as the township goes, I hope it takes a turn for the better. I hope you girls are ready. I hope you're prepared. And I hope you do a good job compared to what's been going on for the last couple of years. Because this Republican voted for a Democrat.
A lot of them did.
Just for a point of clarification, to respond to what Mr. Ozimick had said, on October 31st, 2023, Magisterial District Justice Jordan Nisley held a summary trial with regard to criminal charges brought against Mr. Ozimick for disorderly conduct, physical offense arising from the council meeting on July of 2023. At that hearing, Chief Bourne presented the evidence on behalf of the Commonwealth, including body cam video, and Mr. Ozimick was found guilty, I believe. So I just wanted that to be on the record. Next up, we have Laura Ray. Is Laura Ray here?
So I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Dave Willard just asked about. I find it pretty ridiculous that we just skipped over in quick fashion very important items that were on the agenda, which were the budget approval, the fixing the tax rates. So it was 5A, B, and C. You didn't even wait like 2 seconds to get a motion. I don't think half of you up there knew what was even going on after the big commotion of item A. So here we are, we have no budget for 2024, and we have no tax rate set.
Okay, I believe that concludes the non-agenda speakers. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
Yeah, last few.
Thank you, Sandy.